Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Will Levis, a prospect, right, from Kentucky. You got a chance to. I think both of us got a chance to kind of look at him a little bit. Did you what do you think about him as far as the prospect goes? Him as a player. What you like about him? What you didn't like about him?
So I watched both 2021 and 2022 tapes. So in 2022, I threw on the Mississippi State game. It was a bad game to evaluate him. They handed off the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was clearly dealing with some sort of injuries. Some inaccuracies with some of the passes, some of the footwork. He relied a lot on his arm strength, but it wasn't a great game to really get a picture of him. So I went back and watched the 2021 game versus Georgia. And in the second half of that game, he made 3 or 4 tight window throws under pressure, got away, scrambled, showed toughness. Like all the things you heard about him, he did it last year against Georgia. They didn't win the game, but he had a better offensive line. The center went on, I believe, the right tackles with Kansas City. They had a Robinson, who's the wide receiver with the Giants, but you saw the flashes. Now it's still really inconsistent. For every wow throw he made, then he threw one where you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
The offense looked a little bit better. They ran a lot of screens in that Georgia game. It was literally like roll out, throwback screen. But when they worked the ball down the field, especially in the middle of the field, I think I texted you, this guy would be great for a Shanahan offense because they ran a lot of bootlegs and threw a lot of balls over the middle of the field. And he looked like he was pretty good at that. I didn't see a ton of what McDaniels likes to do. I didn't see him dropping back in the pocket, reading one side of the field and throwing these big 20-yard dig routes, throwing the ball vertically down the field. The touch pass is just the way his arm works. It's a pretty short arm stroke where he just relies on the RPMs in the arm to muscle the ball in there. He doesn't really feather it in. He can't get it over the linebacker and drop it in front of the safety. Some of those touch throws, that's what he's going to have to improve on. That's where I have some questions. But if you just watch the second half of that Georgia game last year, you understand where some of this hype is coming from.
Yeah,
I don't know if I do it at 7 though.
Not me either. I think the feet can be a little bit of a problem for him as far as the footwork goes. That when I watched him, and I think the touch was the biggest thing. Like there's some times where you don't need to put it. You can't put it 99 on the outside corner. You just need you need to change up. You need to be able to get something, you need to kind of loft it in there. And everything was a little bit of a line drive. Sometimes on those short throws, I think in that game too, they probably were just terrified of that front 7, that front 4 of the Bulldogs. That's why they want to get the ball out quick. But some of the throws that they kind of tried to manufacture for him in that game, he's throwing the ball at people's feet. I'm like, sit back and sling that. I mean, they try to give you an easy completion. So you know what I'm saying? So just take that easy completion and don't do that. A couple times when I watched some games, and then I also watched some other breakdowns of it from the QB school, and it was one play in particular where the easy throw, running back in the flat, just take that throw. It's a mismatch. You're gonna get 7-8 yards. He runs, which is fine. We all want a little bit of mobility, and he ends up getting hurt on that play. And where he could have just taken it wasn't that much pressure where he couldn't have just stood there and just taken a throw, the easy completion. Take the easy completion, cousin, and just throw it to the flat. You're good to go. And then he ends up not sliding, ends up going kind of head first and hurting himself in that game. So nobody comes into the league as a perfect prospect. Even the most highly rated guys do. They just don't come into the league that way. But he definitely needs some work. But I see why people would mock him to Indianapolis or mock him to all these quarterback needy teams, because the upside could be huge if you have the right teacher of the position for him.
Yeah, there's definitely wild throws. Like I said in that Georgia game, there was a throw where he He rolled out to his left in the red zone, and there was a really small opening between the coverage, the linebacker, and the safety, and he threw an absolute seed in the back of the end zone from like 20 yards away, a foot off the ground, and the receiver went down and dropped it. That was an elite NFL throw. The receiver didn't catch it, but the ball placement was phenomenal. And then the one question I would have is he's really good at rolling out and throwing the ball deep down the field, across the field, so those deep over routes. It's the pure go routes that he has, the back shoulder, the touch to get it up and down, to get enough air under it to let the receiver make a play. He just tries to rifle it in there. So there's not a lot of, depth in there. It's like a line drive where it has to be perfect because there's just not enough room for the receiver to make a play 30, 40 yards down the field. I watched Herbert a lot, and Herbert made a lot of wild throws at Oregon when he needed to. They didn't do it a lot, but like Herbert had better touch. Like it's not Justin Herbert type arm talent, but there are flashes of like Josh Allen because of the mobility and the size, and then some of the pure arm strength. But there's also some Jake Locker too when you're watching him. So it's going to be up to whoever develops this guy.
Don't say that name.
Yeah, but it's somewhere in there. If he goes to the right, you're gonna have to be patient. They're gonna have to have a running game. You're gonna have to do some zone read stuff. Let him use his legs. A lot of bootlegs, getting him outside the pocket. You can't just have this guy drop back 35 times in the NFL as a rookie. He's gonna be confused, and it's gonna be sloppy. It's gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
But if you can get him into one of those Shanahan systems, like Houston would be good for him, if they want to do some of that bootleg stuff and get him out and get him on the move.
Yeah,
he's a lot better on the move than he is standing in the pocket. But we'll see.
Yeah. Did they hire an offensive coordinator in Houston yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, they ran some of that stuff last year.
Yeah.
With Davis Mills, not a ton of it. But they could.
They could, yeah. So I mean, that's probably I'm not saying he has a cush job, but it would take a lot for DeMeco Ryans not to keep that job, because are they really going to pay 3 coaches? I don't know if they're going to pay 3 coaches.
I would assume they're going to run some version of the Shanahan offense with DeMeco Ryans going over there.
I think
there's someone in that building that he's going to bring over with him.
Yeah, somebody. They always do it. And that coaching tree from Shanahan continues to grow, and it continues to garner 3rd round picks for that team. So Super Bowl coming up this week. One year when we do this, it'll be a Super Bowl where we're previewing the Raiders in Super Bowl, hopefully. But not this year. The Eagles, Chiefs. Before we get to that, anybody from the Senior Bowl or the East West Shrine you heard about that you wanted to? There's the one kid from Northwestern that I was going through all my stuff, and I had no film of him, so I was looking to find some film on him, but everybody's going crazy for the D tackle from Northwestern. Is there anybody in that group that you want to talk about?
I haven't watched the game yet. I have it on tape. Okay. I was out on Saturday, so I'm going to watch it at some point this week. But just from following from afar, it seems like, some corners really stood out on the team Patrick Graham was coaching. The corner from Stanford, I think his name is Kelly, the long dude. The guy from South Carolina, Rush, I believe was the other one. So there was some defensive backs that seemed to have good weeks. There was some linebackers. The Pace kid from Cincinnati got a lot of hype. So I was looking more at like what defensive players over there performed, especially the ones that played for Patrick Graham's team, because some of those guys might be Raiders.
Yeah, no question about it. They'll have that insight as well, and I'm sure he's trying to find any defensive talent on that roster. So to add to the Raiders roster, Eagles, Chiefs. Do you feel like when I thought about this game, I was sitting there saying to myself, the best player is on the Chiefs, but the better team is the Eagles? Is that like how you kind of see it too, or do you feel like the Chiefs are just as equal because of what Mahomes can do? Do you think that the better team, better roster is the Eagles, and then the best player is Mahomes?
The Eagles have the better roster. They have an advantage there. The advantage Kansas City has is the coaching. They have the better quarterback.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts hasn't played well in his last 3 times out. He's injured. There's something going on in that shoulder. Let's be honest. They got a layup. When Brock Purdy went out of that game, it was a walkthrough in the NFC Championship game. So Jalen Hurts can't play the way he played against the Giants or the 49ers and expect to win the Super Bowl, or even week 18 when he didn't play well when he came back from the injury. So it's 3 games in a row where Jalen Hurts hasn't played like Jalen Hurts. So luckily there was that week off, but I don't know how much that's really going to help him. And to me, it comes down to the better coach, the better quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes is injured too, but it didn't really bother him that much in that Bengals game. And then Travis Kelce, I haven't seen a team cover him all year. I know we talk about it a lot, but I'm just going to take the Chiefs because I'm going to bet on the better coach with the better quarterback right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that because I just don't. I don't. Yeah,
I would add this one caveat too. I know the Eagles are ranked really high on pass defense, but who's the best quarterback that they played this year?
I mean, they haven't faced an
Haven't played anybody.
elite quarterback at all this year, and I just feel like I mean, the only thing that they could do in this game, and the problem is like you can do everything right on the back half against Mahomes, but when he extends the play, that's where those big plays come. I mean, he's just. I mean, even in that first half of that game, the one touchdown pass that ended up being dropped in the end zone, that was a dime. And they could have got a touchdown early in that game, had to settle for a field goal.
I'm gonna read you real quick the defenses or the quarterbacks they played.
Yeah, go ahead.
They played the Lions. Jared Goff scored 35 against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins, Washington. They gave up 21 to Jacksonville early in the season before they got rolling. Arizona, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington, Indianapolis. They played Green Bay, so Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback. They scored 33 on the Eagles. Tennessee, the Giants, the Bears. They give up 34 to Dallas when Dak Prescott was back. New Orleans, and the Giants. So every time they played a good quarterback, let's just say Jared Goff, the best 3 quarterbacks they played were Jared Goff, 35 points, Green Bay, 33 points, Dallas with Prescott. I don't think he played in that first game, 34 points. They give up 34 more points in the 3 games where they played the 3 best quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is scoring on this defense.
Yeah.
For as much talent as they have.
Yeah. I mean, and even with the talent they have on that defensive line, he's gonna make plays regardless. And until I see somebody just like bottle up 87, I mean, ideally I would think if I'm game planning against the Chiefs, 87 gets hit in the line of scrimmage and he goes nowhere. Even if he goes to the bathroom, I want 2 Eagles with him. And then you play and you force somebody else to beat you because those guys they're young, they're hurt, and they're hurt at the wide receiver position, and they just and they're not great players who win the first time through. Like sometimes it takes Mahomes to scramble and extend the play for them to get open and start the win against defensive backs. So that's what I would do. I don't know what they're gonna do because I still to this day have not seen anybody try to do that with him. I saw the Raiders do it for a little bit, but in the red zone they just let him go. After they hit a line of scrimmage, they had Cleveland Farrell out there. You can do whatever you want. I mean, I want two people above him all the time because Andy Reid is not going to commit to run the football. And I think for the Eagles, what do you do if the running game is an issue for you? If you can't run the football against the Chiefs, I mean that's going to be. I mean you should be able to, but what if you can't? And like if you do it continuously, are they going to get holding calls? I mean, in the secondary, are they? Are the Chiefs secondary and Chris Jones on the interior? When Chiefs second when I see him getting sacks, a lot of times they get away with a lot of holding in some of these games. If they are allowed to kind of bump these receivers and be physical with the receivers down the field and not get called for anything, and usually in Super Bowls they usually don't have a lot of flags. I think that could be an issue as well. Can he hit enough of those deep balls, which he missed against the Niners in this game? And I know it's a shoulder injury. He probably will have surgery right after the season's over. And but I don't know if Hurts can do that. I think the Chiefs will probably win this game. I'm not saying going away. I think the Eagles can hang around, but I just don't know if Hurts was healthy, it'd be a different conversation. But he's clearly not because he's missing some easy throws.
And they're not calling designed runs for him either, as much as they did during the regular season. But I heard the stat today, and I hope that I'm right when I repeat this, but I'm pretty sure I heard someone say today on the radio that Jalen Hurts, how many passes has he thrown this year in the second half while behind, while losing?
Yeah, to guess,
They said 22. 22 passes the entire season in the second half. So it's not really battle tested at the NFL level of having to bring a team back. If they fall behind in this game and they have to sling the ball around the yard, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Kansas City actually matches up well against this Eagles defense because the Eagles have those two corners outside, but that's not who Kansas City wants to throw the ball to. They want to
Yeah,
work the
exactly.
ball to Kelsey and to the backs. They want to throw it to McKinnon and Pacheco. They want to throw it to the second tight end. They want to run these delays where they're going to block with the tight end, slip them out for 5 to 10 yards. Like they're not pushing the ball vertically down the field. That's not what Kansas City's doing this year. So you can have those two corners out there, but they're not going to throw the ball outside. So the linebackers and the safeties on the Eagles are the ones that are going to have to come up with the plays in this game.
Would you try to have somebody hit him at line of scrimmage and then have Slay come down and try to cover Kelsey? Or you think
I probably wouldn't. I would use Bradbury on third downs if he's detached away from the line of scrimmage, but they're probably going to trust that front four because they have a phenomenal pass rush. So I would think they start out trusting those guys. They're not going to blitz them. So they're just going to rely on those guys and maybe they double and they bring down like a backside safety to take away some crossing routes. But I don't think they're going to start using defensive linemen to jam them because their strength is getting after the quarterback.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that. I don't think they're taking a pass rusher out. They're not going to rush three like some teams do against them. They're going to let those four guys up front eat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Having said that, I think the Chiefs are winning this game.
Yeah, I just
I don't want to say that, but I think they are.
Yeah, I mean,
and Joe Burrow, if you're listening to me, you cost me that parlay last week. You just needed a field goal, son. You just needed a field goal.
Let's see the field goal. Yeah,
I was golden. I was feeling really good with 2 minutes left in that game.
That third and three you're talking about, right? Where you try to go deep at T. Higgins and end up getting that tip interception. I was like, come on, just give me 4 yards and keep the drive going, Joe. Come on. And they wouldn't have to even get that close because that kicker is phenomenal. McPherson is just he bombs everything. So we'll see there. So yeah, the Chiefs and Eagles, 3:30 what Pacific time on Sunday. So and little halftime R&B with Rihanna. That's one of my girls, Rihanna. So I'm happy about that.
Not a huge Rihanna fan, but I'll watch it.
I like Rihanna. I hear Rihanna. She represents the islands. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta give her love. All right, Rare Nation. Take care. We'll see you next time. And like I said, hopefully, I mean, we're coming. I mean, I know we keep saying coming down the stretch, but this is going to be. I mean, it's days now. Today's the 6th, so
9 days.
9 days. The clock is ticking on number 4 being a Raider. So we'll see what happens there, and hopefully they can acquire Aaron Rodgers. That'd be another story. That'd be an interesting story for us to kind of break down. I would love to look at some Aaron Rodgers film. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say if they release Derek Carr on the 15th, which they might do, I'm not going to overreact to it. They may already have a deal worked out for Aaron Rodgers. So let's wait until like the second day of the new league year. Let's wait till like March 17th before we panic. Give them a month. There might be something going on that they just can't announce yet.
Question: do you feel like that's a failure on their part if they can't find a deal for Derek Carr from the contract they gave him to, now they can't move on from him like they want to and get compensation for him if they end up just cutting him?
So here's the interesting part with that. The failure is the no trade clause in the contract.
Yes.
That's the failure in this whole situation. I know they didn't have to give him the contract. They could have just played out the last year of his contract and let him walk as a free agent, and then you would recruit a comp pick, probably a 3rd rounder. I know a lot of people say you shouldn't have signed the contract, let him play it out, franchise him. The issue you have if you franchise him is now you're basically in the same spot where you're on the hook for $33 million. He wouldn't have a no trade clause. You could flip him at that point. That probably would have been the smarter route. But the issue with that is now you've tied up $33 million in your cap, and you can't address the rest of the roster during free agency until you move him. At the end of the day, the best move would have been probably not to give him that no trade clause. You give him the contract extension in case he plays well. But I still don't know why they put that no trade clause in the contract. That basically screwed this whole situation. So the failure on the front office is that.
Yeah, and do you think it was a trade-off between the two to say, oh, you want the ability to get rid of me on the 15th of February, so I want a no trade then?
No, I think the issue comes in is they didn't really give him a signing bonus in this deal. They gave him like $12 million. So like the trade-off is you gave me a fake extension where you didn't guarantee me all this money. So you have an out. If you want an out, I want an out. So, and I want the out a month before the free agency, and I want a no trade clause. And you're dealing with Dave Ziegler, who's never been a GM before. And he probably just he just said, sure, here you go. We're going to add it in there and we're going to walk away. But I still think that there's something going on in the background that we just don't know about. They didn't do all of this with no plan. Let's let this play out and see what the plan is.
And it also seems like everybody seems a little, for a team who won 6 games and a team that like underachieved and didn't do well, I just felt like the star players seem a little chummy. Like Jacobs feels a little chummy.
Jacobs said he knows who the 3 quarterbacks are talking to.
I was like, what if he said the names by accident? That would have been hilarious. Yeah. Like, I couldn't believe Josh Jacobs said that. He was like, well, I know the 3 guys they're talking to. Oh, my bad. But it's like, yo.
I think they had that discussions with Josh Jacobs. He's not even in our contract next year. They just said, "Hey, Josh, come here. We got something for you."
Yeah, I mean, but I think they're gonna find a way to bring him back, though. I mean, because they're gonna bring him back.
They probably said, "Hey, Josh, this is who we're talking to. We may need to franchise you because we may be swinging big at the quarterback position."
Yeah, well, and Josh wants to win. Josh wants to win. And also, have you seen this little kid who's doing all these interviews with the players?
I haven't watched the interviews, but I know who you're talking about.
Yes. If the Raiders don't just jump on this kid and have him come to have him be the sideline reporter, this kid's good. I mean, when
on
you
the show,
get him on the show, I'm gonna get him on the show. I've already said, I already sent it out already. By the way, but like it just makes all the sense in the world. Nobody's doing it. I mean, the kid's phenomenal. He has a great following, so it would just make all the sense in the world to do that. But all right, Raiders. Raider Nation, we'll see you next time. Ryan, you have a great day.
You too.